Redditors, what's the weirdest thing you've caught a roommate doing? I've caught my roommates, who are married, having sex. But that's not the weird part. I was homesick one day and I'd let my friend borrow my car. So, my roommates thought I wasn't home and figured it was a good time to have sex in the kitchen. My room, being downstairs with the kitchen, was in earshot, so I peeked outside and saw them ducking. It only lasted for about 2 minutes and then the wife starts yelling at the husband about how pathetic he is in bed and he can't please her and he comes too fast. It was ducking brutal. I'm pretty sure the husband started crying. Later that day, when I got home, the husband starts bragging to me about how he and the wife ducked all over the house that day. I said nothing and let him have that moment. He needed it. My old roommate had a picture of he and his mom by his bedside. His mom looked a lot like Dinah Shore, which sort of made sense because so did he when I thought about it. Sort of round face, blonde hair. And he was gay, so whatever, that's cool. Somehow that all fit together in my head. Then one day we were all in his room smoking out and I told him, Rodney, I gotta say your mom looks just like Dinah Shore. He asked, how do you know what my mom looks like, and I pointed to the picture. Rodney says, that's not my mom, that's Dinah Shore. I've told this before, but many years ago I lived in a party house. Always a crazy scene. One night was a typical Saturday bacchanalia. I went to bed relatively early and got up in the morning. My roomie was asleep on the sofa in a sitting position, snoring away. In one hand he had a fully cooked pork chop. In the other hand he had a salt shaker. My walking around had roused him. He woke up, glanced around all bleary-eyed, then looked at his hands. He slowly shook some salt on his pork chop and started eating it. Breakfast of champions. I never asked where he got the pork chop or how he slept for 6 hours without dropping the pork chop or the salt shaker. It was what it was. 3 of my friends all shared a house together, and one day I pop over with one of them after we had been out and about doing some shit. The front door had the chain on, so we went round the back and went in, and there was our other friend naked, wanking, stood up, in the kitchen, with his laptop on an ironing board. He just went ODUK and we walked back out and went to the pub nearby. He joined us 20 minutes later for a pint and tried to act like nothing had happened. Standing completely naked in the kitchen washing her hair, with my shampoo, in the kitchen sink that was already packed full with dirty dishes. We had 2 showers and 4 bathroom sinks in our apartment, none of which were in use. Why? He ran out into the intersection that's just outside his window, with a baseball bat, to yell, who's ducking honking? Actually laughed at this. He was ducking crazy. I moved out cause the landlord wouldn't let anyone sublet the place after the roommate caused a scene and needed to be taken away by the men in white coats. Had one roommate in college who spoke in his sleep. He was having a very vivid dream about having an almost too playful snowball fight with our calculus professor. It was strange to say the least. Edit, this is now my highest comment ever. And it's about my freshman roommate's sleep talking. Lol. You should not Google snowballing. It'll change what you heard. Came home from work early and found him in just his tighty whities and motorcycle helmet playing a racing game. My college dorm mate had this weird thing with wanting me to think she was cool or fun or something. So every time I came home and put my key in to unlock the door, she would start hysterically laughing at whatever show she had on. I tested it multiple times to make sure. Tiptoe up to the door, nothing. Stood there for a couple seconds and then put the key in. Hysterical laughter to the point of tears. So creepy and weird. I moved out the following semester. She would pleasure herself in the shower and scream in ecstasy, not realizing that just because she couldn't hear us didn't mean we couldn't hear her. It was very uncomfortable. This one wasn't so much caught. But I came home from work one night to find my roommates, 2 guys and a girl, sitting on the floor of our living room facing the front door. Lights off. Wearing hoodies with the hoods up. Lit by apple scented candles. Chanting Chris. Cross. Apple. Sauce. I believe I simply took this scene and went to my room. But I think I probably laughed. I once walked out of my room and found him lying on the kitchen floor. I asked if he was alright cause I thought maybe he'd slipped or something, but he said nope. Just wanted to dirty himself before having a shower. Proceeded to make floor angels and lay there for another good 15 minutes or so. Years ago, I lived with a bunch of strangers in a house and one of the roommates didn't speak English. It was Christmas break. So I'm out of school and have tons of free time. I'm chilling in the common area reading, as I had been doing for a week, and this roommate, who I can't communicate with, starts cooking something spicy on the stove. All of a sudden he starts panicking and yelling in his language. I hear pots banging and furious chopping of vegetables or something. This goes on for 6 hours. Yelling. Chopping. Yelling. Chopping. Finally he comes out from the kitchen 6 hours later with a tiny bowl of soup. I thought okay. He must have prepped a week's worth of meals and stored the rest. But later that night I leave out the back door and there's this beef soup concoction strewn throughout the lawn. He had dumped pots worth of soup outside. To this day, I'm still not sure what happened with this guy in that kitchen. I came out around 1 AM to go to the bathroom and heard a weird rustling in the kitchen. I turned a corner and found my roommate sleeping in our sink. She had this cup full of liquid by her bed. There's no better way to describe it really. She kept her toothbrush in it. Bristles down in the liquid, and when it came to teeth brushing time, she'd basically just take the toothbrush out, brush her teeth, spit into the cup and shove her toothbrush back into her cup. I'm retching just thinking about it. Guy was catfishing his former roommate. We shared a computer in that house and I came across a chat window he left open revealing a very lengthy and graphic session where my roommate was pretending to be a super horny Japanese girl and getting nasty with the other guy. When asked, he claimed it was to get revenge on his old roommate over a security deposit thing. He said he was going to print off all of the chat sessions and mail them to his roommate's mom. I never used the computer again. My old roommate, he was technically the homeowner but lived in a shack in the backyard, would come into my room early in the morning and watch me sleep. I was a bartender at the time, so I would get home about an hour or so before he would be leaving for work. I was always thoroughly passed out when he'd leave and I'm a heavy sleeper, so I did not notice this was happening for months until a guy I was seeing stayed up and caught him opening my door. There was also a second door to my room that I could not open. It was locked from the other side. I don't know what was going on in there, but I'm fairly certain he was spying on me from that room as well. He was a complete crazy person. The day I lost my faith was the day I realized that online gamers, like my roommate, still do online 6 roleplay on Minecraft. Walked in on 5 of my roommates waterboarding the 6th. It was an ROTC house, and we had discussed the topic before. But I guess after a couple fifths they decided to actually go through with it. The guy getting waterboarded was strapped to our beer pong table with a dishcloth over his head and a female friend, and I walked in as my scariest looking roommate was about to pour a gallon of water on his face. On the upside, my female friend and I went straight upstairs. I had a roommate who had decided that he wanted to start eating food purely for nutritional purposes without any regard for taste or appearance. So I opened the fridge a couple days later to find that all the Tupperware containers and many other dishes filled with this disgusting food that he made. This food was basically a mashed together mixture of frozen vegetables, oatmeal, eggs and some other things that he had heated together in a big pot. Needless to say, he didn't last very long on this diet and ended up throwing most of it away. He's done some other weird things, but I can't really remember any right now. I caught my roommate doing the dishes without being asked. Seriously changed how I looked at the guy. For real though, our female roommate came home with a few friends to my roommate and I doing chores naked. She said she would have joined if she didn't bring company. It was a weird house. Not me, but a friend. He caught his roommate masturbating over him while he was asleep. Woke up. Asked him WTF. Guy had shirt and no pants, Winnie the Pooh style. Claimed he was looking in friend's room for his icy hot due to backache. While sporting a boner. Argument ensues. Friend moves out. It was the last straw in a long line of creeper behavior. She would sometimes go out to do Lord knows what and then come in late at night. It would be well after midnight. Sometimes 2 or 3 in the morning. And I would be in bed asleep already. But she would always wake me up because she was so damn loud coming in. She would come in, flip the lights on, and whisper my name a couple times to see if I would respond. I would pretend to be asleep because I didn't really like her or want to talk to her. Especially that late at night. As soon as she thought I was asleep, she would let it rip. I'm talking loud. Long farts. It was really hard not to laugh. A roommate in college once clearly said the word orchestra while he was fast asleep. I thought he was awake. So when I said what and he didn't respond, I was a bit spooked. Peeing in our cups from the kitchen. Dude would piss in them and put them back in the cupboard. Yeah. He washed them, but that didn't make a difference to me. Another guy would disappear to his bedroom before he hit the gym. We found out he was beating his willy because it boosted his testosterone before a workout. IDK science. I lived with a furry once. And his bedroom had a number of posters, prints of furry characters. Some not dressed all too appropriately. Some not dressed at all. That didn't bug me at all. But I did find it pretty weird how he refused to take them down whenever he had company over. Including his grandmother, who didn't seem to approve of his taste in women or modesty. Okay. Never thought I'd tell this story, but this is the perfect venue. When I was a sophomore in college, 1983. I had this really odd roommate named Opie. He did a lot of weird shit. But this one stands out. I owned this knife that I guess was technically a switchblade. One day he borrows it and then proceeds to pull down his pants and stab himself in the sack with it. That knife got a thorough cleaning after that. We had this Croatian guy who basically spent all of his time at our house. So he was considered a roommate. One time I came home at 7 AM. Mistake were made and I fled the scene. And I saw him standing in front of our George Foreman grill. Dipping bread in the historical fat pit that hasn't been cleaned out in ages. Yes. He was eating the George fat. Delicious. My roommate's cat died. He slept with his dead cat in his bed for like 3 days. Knowing it was dead. He only stopped when it started to smell. My freshman year of college. My roommate had a Confederate flag that he was going to put up. This was about a month in. So by that point he had to have known that I'm black. In the college dorms. I woke up in the middle of the night to find my roommate staring at me while standing in the middle of the room and coming into a trash can. While at college. My then GF and I walked out of my room after having sex to see my roommate crouched on top of our table just squatting there eating Cheez-Its staring at us while smiling. Decided to room with him for another year after that. My best friends, who I later moved in with, had a rando in their suite our sophomore year of college. They all shared pots and pans. And just assumed people know how to use them. One day, they came back to their dorm. And the rando was standing at the sink with steel wool, scrubbing one of their Teflon pans for all it was worth. Which wasn't much when she was done with it. They knew a lost cause when they saw her doing it. And just let her continue until she'd gotten all of it off of the pan. When she was done, they threw it out and removed the rest of the Teflon pans from the kitchen. One of my roommates used to flush food down the toilet. Once I saw her flushing a shit ton of spaghetti noodles, and another time an apple core. I guess she thought that was what you did with unfinished food.